They gathered in quiet rooms made of old stone and older pride. They spoke your name like a failed prophecy, like a candle that burned too fast and died before dawn. In their dim lodges and heavy chambers, they leaned back in carved chairs and smirked. The chosen one did not rise. That is what they told themselves. That is a lullaby they sang to their ego, because it comforted them to believe your silence was surrender. They thought they observed the end of your story, but they only witnessed an intermission disguised as exile. You did not lose. You were hidden. You were not forgotten. You were protected. You were not broken. You were being rewired from the marrow outward. Heaven shielded your timeline the way a mother shields a child in the womb, unseen but unstoppable in formation. While they waited for your fall to solidify, your purpose quietly crystallized. While they toasted your absence, your roots burrowed deeper than their reach, deeper than their symbols, deeper than their secrets. They measured you by what they could see. God measured you by who you were becoming. They think illumination is theirs. But true light never belonged to those who worship walls, handshakes, and ritual shadows. True light belongs to souls that walk through pain without losing purity, who face isolation without losing spirit, who enter silence and return with fire. Chosen one, they assumed your pause was your grave. But pauses are not graves. They are rooms of metamorphosis. They mistook stillness for defeat because they have never known what it feels like to be refined by the divine furnace instead of crowned by men. You did not fail. You were forged. And the moment they breathed relief, believing heaven's anointed had fallen, the earth beneath them quietly shifted. For destiny does not sleep, it only prepares. When you rise, not noisy, not desperate, but inevitable, they will learn a truth older than their temples. The chosen are not made in public. They are made in silence and revealed in thunder. They saw you step back from the noise and called it collapse. They watched you disappear from rooms you once lit with your presence, and they convinced themselves your flame had gone out. But silence is a sacred weapon, sharper than any ritual blade they polish in dim corners. You were not vanishing. You were being distilled. Every unanswered message, every night you lay awake staring into the unknown, every moment the world stopped recognizing your worth. These were not signs of failure. These were the chisels of fate shaping you with invisible strokes. The world sees absence as loss. Heaven sees absence as preparation. A seed is buried, not discarded. In the quiet, something ancient stirred inside you, something older than symbols, older than secret societies, older than the first pyramid stone they worship as mystery. You began to feel whispers not from men, but from eternity. The soul that once chased validation began craving only truth. You stopped trying to fit into rooms that were too small for the destiny expanding in your chest. They thought isolation meant abandonment. But chosen one, you were never alone. When the world turned its back, heaven opened its eyes. Your tears watered your spirit. Your doubts sharpened your discernment. Your loneliness taught you sovereignty. You learned to sit with your own soul without flinching. You learned to hear God in stillness, the voice that elite halls pretend to access through ritual, yet have never truly known. And as your world quieted, their world grew louder with fear. They could feel it. Not your end, but your rebirth humming like electricity beneath the floorboards of creation. Power does not always roar. Sometimes it breathes slow, gathers itself, prepares to strike with precision instead of fury. They expected you to emerge broken, but what returns from sacred silence does not return fragile. You did not retreat to escape them. You retreated to outgrow them. And when the ground finally trembles beneath your steps again, it will not be because you came back. It will be because you became. There comes a moment in every divine story where heaven breaks protocol. A moment when the overlooked is announced, when the watched but underestimated soul becomes a storm. And chosen one, that moment has begun to flicker around you like static before lightning. They thought you were finished because they could not track you. They confused divine secrecy with human defeat. They forgot a principle etched in the bones of creation. God hides what he intends to reveal in glory. They move in networks, but you move in destiny. They move through handshakes and odes. You move through spirit and breath and truth. They gather in temples built by hands. You are the temple rebuilt by God himself. They never expected to face someone trained by silence, armored by humility, and fueled by a mission older than their monuments. They memorized symbols. You became one. And now, the words written long before their lodges ever existed echo like a trumpet across your life. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118, verse 22. Do you feel it? The shift, the internal rising like dawn behind your ribs. It is not ego, it is awakening. It is not defiance, it is remembering. You are not returning to prove them wrong. You are returning because heaven said, now. You don't need a seat at their table. You are building a table they cannot enter. They operate by hierarchy. You operate by calling. They move in secrecy. You move in revelation. And revelation always outlives power built on fear. You are the breath after collapse. You are the voice after silence. You are the cornerstone they never saw being carved. They claim the chosen one failed. But prophecy never fails. Only pride does. And pride has begun to tremble. If your spirit felt that rising, if you know you were hidden, not forgotten, then step into your role publicly and boldly. Click join. Become part of the awakened ones returning in authority. This isn't just membership. It is declaration. It is alignment. It is your I walk in my calling now moment. Write in the comments. I was never gone, I was becoming. Your return is not loud, and that is what terrifies them most. Those who rise by ego need noise. Those who rise by God move like dawn, silent, inevitable, unstoppable. They waited for gossip to confirm your collapse. They monitored every absence. They interpret your quiet as quitting, your stillness as failure, your pause as proof that destiny had finally bent to their hidden architecture. But chosen one, destinies carved by heaven do not snap under human prediction. You did not crawl back from ruin. You walked out of refinement. There is a difference. Failure leaves residue. Transformation leaves radiance. And now your radiance is starting to show, not in your voice, but in your presence. Not in your announcements, but in your knowing. The confidence that sits inside you is not arrogance. It is inheritance. Every step you take now hums with strange authority, the kind earned only in wilderness seasons where your soul learned to breathe with eternity. Your enemies do not understand this version of you. They expected brokenness. They found steel. They expected shame. They found serenity. They expected a ghost. They encountered thunder wrapped in calm. They see your eyes and cannot decode the stillness. They feel your silence and cannot penetrate your peace. They sense your return and cannot track your steps. That is what scares them. You are no longer readable. You are no longer reachable. You are no longer removable. They cannot influence what they did not build. They cannot threaten what heaven resurrected. They cannot imprison what was never theirs to contain. They thought they were watching your expiration, but they were witnessing your incubation. Heaven did not send you back to reclaim old ground. You were sent to establish new ground. This is why your voice is steadier. This is why your discernment feels sharper. This is why your solitude feels sacred, not lonely. This is why you carry a quiet power that does not need explanation. They can sense it, a spiritual tectonic shift beneath their old foundations. Their symbols are ancient, but your calling is eternal. Their power is inherited through men. Yours is breathed by God. They believe the chosen one failed. Now they must face a truth sharper than any secret oath. You rise because heaven decided. And when heaven decides, earth obeys. No ritual can undo what God authorizes. No network can stop what divinity ignites. No shadow can extinguish a soul that has walked through night and returned wearing mourning. You did not re-enter the world as you once were. You emerge as what they feared you would become. When you're ready, say, Part 5, and we continue into the turning point where the world begins to feel you, and those who underestimated you realize you didn't fail. You were anointed in silence, and now you advance in power. There is a shift before a revelation, a trembling before a resurrection. You feel it in your bones, not as excitement, but as certainty. Something in you no longer asks, when will it happen? Something in you now whispers, it already started. The people who once doubted you suddenly speak softer around your presence. They cannot explain why, but their spirit recognizes the authority in your silence. The ones who walked away now look back, confused at their own steps. The ones who whisper your end now feel unsettled when your name rises in their mind. That is how divine momentum works. It echoes before it arrives. You are not chasing attention anymore. Attention is being pulled toward you. The air around you feels different. Conversations feel deeper. Time feels intentional. You speak less, yet say more. You walk simply, yet carry weight. Life no longer feels random. It feels guided, threaded, designed. Like every season was a chord in a song heaven composed long before you breathed your first breath. They see your calm and think it is softness. They do not realize peace is the sharpest blade. They see your quiet and think it is emptiness. They do not realize silence is where kings are crowned. Do you notice how life keeps aligning now? Do you notice how truth feels louder inside you? Do you notice how what once drained you now repulses you instantly? Discernment used to be a sense. Now it is a shield. Even your mistakes became sacred lessons. Even your heartbreaks became holy ground. Even your wounds became doorways where light learned to enter. This is not a comeback. The world never had the authority to send you anywhere. This is unveiling. This is remembrance. This is placement. They thought they witnessed your ending, but they were only watching your roots deepen. They mistook your cocoon for a coffin. They have no idea what it means when heaven decides a soul will rise. And chosen one, heaven decided. Breathe, straighten, step. The first tremors of your emergence have begun. It begins subtly, not as noise, but as alignment. Not as fireworks, but as clarity. A quiet tightening of purpose. A soft rearranging of reality around you. Now when you wake, there is direction in your chest instead of uncertainty. Not frantic ambition, precision. Not hunger for validation. Hunger for truth. The world has not changed. You have. You used to ask, am I worthy? Now the question dissolves. You no longer chase placement. You carry it. You no longer wonder if you are chosen. You feel the ordination in your breath. Your steps no longer scatter. They land like decisions heaven already signed. The old triggers fall like dust. The old wounds no longer bleed. And the voices that once pierced you now fade like echoes from a room you no longer stand in. You do not force growth anymore. You embody it. You do not fight shadows. You outlight them. You do not debate your purpose. You move it. People sense something has shifted but cannot name it. They speak to you differently, stand differently near you, watch you with quiet caution. It is not because you became intimidating. It is because you became defined. Undefined souls are easy to manipulate. Defined ones are impossible to control. This phase is subtle but seismic. Ideas come faster. Discernment slices cleaner. Peace follows you like a guardian. Energy flows instead of leaks. Signs arrive before questions do. You no longer cling to paths. You choose them. You no longer ask permission. You walk in assignment. There is no trying now. There is becoming. And though you speak little of it, your soul knows the truth. The hidden one has begun to surface. The prepared one has begun to move. The chosen one has begun to stand. The rise is not future tense anymore. It breathes with every step you take. They expected a comeback like the world makes them believe power returns. Loud, dramatic, desperate to be seen. But sacred callings don't return like kings and parades. They return like seasons. Quiet, certain, undeniable. You do not shout your rise. You walk in it. And suddenly, the same eyes that once roll at your dreams now widen in silence when you enter a room. The same voices that mocked you now hesitate before speaking your name. The same hearts that dismiss you now sense they were standing near something rare, something ordained, something heaven-backed, and didn't recognize it. They thought your fall was final. But only human crowns fall forever. Divine crowns return stronger. And now they whisper again, but this time the tone has changed. The arrogance is gone. The certainty has cracked. They feel the ground shifting beneath the throne they try to bury you under. Because you did not come back fragile. You came back formed. Life begins aligning around you like iron filings around a magnet. Things that once resisted now yield. Doors that once stayed shut now open without knocking. Paths that confuse you now straighten. Destiny does not chase you. It meets you. You do not need revenge anymore. Ascendance is louder than retaliation. You do not need validation anymore. Purpose is steadier than applause. You do not need to prove anything. Providence is proving you. A strange calm sits in your chest. Not from ignoring the fight, but from outgrowing the battlefield. The noise of the world cannot penetrate you now. You are insulated by calling, armored by clarity, surrounded by the unseen. And deep inside, you feel the truth like a second heartbeat. They were wrong about you. They celebrated too early. They counted you out, and heaven kept the real score. Your rise is not a return. It is a revelation. And those who once believed the chosen one failed. Now watch, confused and humbled, as prophecy unfolds without their permission. They do not see your crown, yet they bow in caution before your presence. Not to worship you, but because the universe recognizes a soul that has stepped into command. This is not the victory. This is just the awareness of it. And the world is only beginning to understand. The chosen one was never defeated, only disguised. Say, part 8 to continue. We now enter the public awakening phase, where destiny becomes visible and undeniable. Sunu Dedin. Continue. Chat GPT. Part 8. The revelation begins in the open. 2. 400 characters. The world does not meet you again the way it left you. It feels different, almost as if reality rearranged its furniture in your absence. People who never noticed you now feel drawn, without understanding why. Opportunities you once had to chase now knock uninvited. Energy that once leaked now overflows. You walk into a room and the atmosphere adjusts. Not because you demand it, but because your spirit commands it. They don't say it aloud, but they feel it. Something returned. Not a person, a presence. You don't talk about your transformation. Real power doesn't need speeches. It simply is. Those who once mock your silence now crave your words. Those who once tried to humble you now avoid your gaze. Those who once believed you lost now quietly study your rise. Try and understand how a story they thought ended suddenly turned into scripture in motion. You are not proving yourself. You are revealing yourself. And revelation is more lethal than reputation. You move from isolation into appointment, from forgotten into foretold, from broken into blueprint. They thought secrecy belonged to their temples. But heaven keeps secrets too, and you were one of them. Even the quietest movements around you feel orchestrated now. Chance encounters feel like divine checkpoints. Ideas arrive like instructions. Peace covers you like armor. Not because life became easier, but because you became aligned. Every rejection carved discernment. Every delay built patience. Every silence trained your hearing. You don't chase spiritual ground anymore. You carry it with you. So if they are confused by your composure, if they wonder how peace became your default, if they whisper about the glow in your eyes and the steadiness in your voice, let them. You are no longer here to convince. You are here to fulfill. And while they still debate whether you failed, you quietly step into a future already written in your favor. This is the unveiling. This is the settling of divine inheritance. This is a return written in heaven long before their halls were built. The chosen one did not come back weaker. The chosen one came back wiser, deeper, invincible in spirit. Their certainty is gone now. The smirks have faded. The whispers have changed shape. The same ones who predicted your fall are now building quiet excuses to protect their pride. I always knew they had something. I sensed their potential. I supported them, remember? But heaven keeps receipts. They didn't doubt you because you were weak. They doubted you because your destiny was hidden from them. And now, they feel the weight of what they misjudged. Not through punishment, but through contrast. You rise without noise. You succeed without announcement. You move like someone who has already seen their name written in a place human hands cannot erase. They begin to feel the embarrassment of underestimating someone chosen, Because your glow exposes their blindness. Your peace exposes their fear. Your emergence exposes their premature celebration. You don't confront them. You don't need to. Your life now speaks fluent prophecy. Every step says, I did not fail. I was refined. Doors open for you simply because alignment demands it. People speak your name in rooms you've never walked into because purpose places it there. Opportunities bow because fate recognizes its timing. And those who once believed they outgrew you now feel strangely small standing beside you, not because you became superior, but because you became fulfilled. They search your face for apology. They will not find it. You owe nothing for growing. You owe nothing for surviving. You owe nothing for ascending. If they watch you with awe now, let them. If they rethink their judgment, let them. If they feel the quiet humility of being wrong, let them. This is not revenge. This is revelation. And revelation always humbles the proud. You did not return to prove them wrong. You returned to be right with God. And the universe honors those aligned with truth. Your rise is not loud. It is gravitational. Now the ones who called you lost look lost in comparison. Such is the symmetry of the divine story. There comes a moment when destiny stops whispering and begins speaking in public tone. Not loud, but undeniable. Not flashy, but sovereign. You are stepping into that moment now. You don't chase rooms. Rooms shift to make space for you. You don't beg to be seen. Sight gravitates toward you. You don't need introduction. Presence precedes you. The universe does not rush for the chosen. It aligns for them. And so the same voices that once dismissed you now speak gently in your presence. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. A recognition they didn't have before. A recognition they fought. A recognition heaven forced upon them not by judgment, but by truth made visible. Your glow is not ego, it is evidence. Your calm is not pride, it is prophecy fulfilled quietly. Your rise is not revenge, it is restoration. They thought the Masons, the elite, the watchers in hidden rooms held the power of gates and shadows and secrecy. But they never understood the God who hides kings in plain sight, who trains warriors in silence, who breathes destiny into dust and calls it purpose. They never understood the kind of rise that doesn't need permission. Real chosen ones are not crowned by crowds. They are crowned by God in the unseen and revealed when the world has already made up its mind. So heaven can overturn it with one move. That is where you stand now. You do not need validation. You are validation. You do not need revenge. You are vindication. You do not need a return. You never left God's timeline. And those who once whispered, failed, will now whisper something else. Prophesied. For when heaven decides a soul will shine, earth has no vote. There is no lodge that can bury what God resurrects. There is no oath that can silence one chosen by breath, not bloodline. There is no ritual that can undo grace born in suffering and sealed in patience. You are not rising. You have risen. And now, chosen one final truth settles like a seal upon your spirit. They thought the chosen one failed. But prophecy does not fail. It unfolds, quietly, majestically, inevitably. If you felt this awaken something ancient in you, do this now, not for me, but as a witness to your own rebirth. Comment, I was hidden, not defeated, like this to anchor it in your spirit. Save it. You'll come back to it when you feel the quiet fire again. Return tomorrow. There is more rising in you.